Okay, this special meeting of the Board of Trustees is called to order. Let's start with a roll call.
Mr. Isom, Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Ms. Tilley. Here. Mr. Flynn.
Here.
Ms. Honeychurch, Ms. Patero, Ms. Smith.
Here.
And Ms. Aftab. Here.
Good. For the Pledge of Allegiance, our student board member, Quinn Aftab, will lead us in the pledge. All rise, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Good, so
Sorry.
Tilly moved, Flynn second, I believe,
I think Smith got me thinking.
or vice versa, or vice versa. Okay, it was announced more than a month ago that board. Oh, that's right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. It was announced more than a month ago that board member David Isom would resign before the end of his term. We've received formal notice that the effective date will be Monday, and we must decide how to respond to the vacancy. This special meeting has a single agenda item to determine whether or not we will make an appointment to fill the vacancy. Now, for public comment, because this is a special meeting, public comment is limited to only this one item, whether or not we should appoint to fill the vacancy. Each speaker may have up to 3 minutes. The clerk will read the names, if any, of the first few public speakers.
We have received no request for public comment, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Can I make a motion that we do a provisional appointment at this time?
Second.
I wasn't quite ready for motions, so let me rule that out of order until we've done some questions. But then we'll return to that.
Typically, you need a motion before you discuss an item, so I was just putting a motion out there.
Well, okay, our handbook spells out before we do motions, we do questions, clarifying questions. And so that will be, I'm not a fan of that, but it's in our handbook, and so I want to respect it. We will now address what to do about our vacancy as noted in our agenda materials. If we choose an election, it would occur in March and cost us about $65,000. If we choose to appoint, it would last until November, when we have a regularly scheduled election. But before we make and debate a motion, we have a chance to get clarification on any of the agenda attachments or the general circumstances of replacing board members, such as timelines or costs or alternate procedures or how it's been done elsewhere. During these questions, we will not be advocating, only establishing facts or circumstances that apply to us. Questions and follow-up questions are appropriate here as long as we save debate until after the motion is made, when questions will no longer be appropriate. Who would like to ask the first question? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We now have the chance to speak in favor of or against the motion. Questions are no longer appropriate. Who would like to speak first?
Board Member Honeychurch, the motion is to do a provisional appointment.
Okay, Board Member Flynn.
Thank you, Board President Wilson. So I am supporting a provisional appointment today. Looking over the facts, I believe it is important that we save our district money. I believe that an election would cost too much money for our district. The $65,000 that comes out of our general fund, school finance and school funding is always somewhat of an uncertain topic. I think that money in the general fund would be better spent on students, better spent on retaining staff, better spent on parent engagement. I believe that it's so important as a board that we remember we have that fiduciary responsibility to protect the solvency of the school district's finances. That is our number one priority. So for that reason, I am supporting Board Member Smith's motion for the governing board to make a provisional appointment for Trustee Area 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Flynn. the motion to appoint. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of or against? Board Member
I
Smith?
would just like to chime in and concur with what was said. I think the $65,000 is not worth the expense, because even if it came out of the general fund and not specifically a classroom, it all eventually comes out of a classroom, so.
I agree. Thank you. Board Member Honeychurch?
I too agree with both of you and would support the appointment.
Good.
I would only clarify that when we say it'll go till November, we're talking about November of '24, not November of '23. So a period of 15 months, which is appropriate.
Thank you.
And I fully support the motion for all of the reasons stated by my esteemed colleagues.
Would you like to speak, or? Say it again? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is unanimous. Now that the motion has passed, we have another item of business to review. The district has prepared a draft application packet that residents of Area 7 can use to apply for the vacancy. Area 7 lies roughly north of Tabor Avenue and east of Dover Avenue. Let's take a few minutes to review the draft application to see if there are any necessary changes. Okay, just a moment, let's finish reading. Okay, before we have questions on this, let me review. The next steps, as outlined in the timeline attached to the agenda, are mainly to advertise the vacancy and collect applications. We are required to have a subcommittee certify the eligibility of the applicants. If there are no objections, I propose we assign that task to the governance subcommittee at their next meeting. Also, as the timeline indicates, our last step would be a special board meeting in September. Attached to the agenda beforehand will be each person's application. And during the meeting, each candidate would speak for up to 3 minutes. After that, we will score each, deliberate, select the appointment, and swear in the new board member. Are there any clarifying questions on the timeline or process from here? Board Member Tilley.
I answered my own question. My question was whether or not the expressions of interest or the application could be done digitally and online. The answer is yes, because one of the options for return stated clearly on the form is that. So I think that's fantastic. Obviously, governance subcommittee has no problem in certifying that the residence and eligibility requirements are met. That should take all of 2 seconds. And we have a meeting on August 5th, so the timing's good as well. August 30th? Okay. I thought we had that one earlier. For governance subcom?
I think it moved to.
Did we move it to the 30th? Okay, so as long as that's compliant with guidelines, which shouldn't be any problem for, for our board in terms of of at least having the ability to engage in decision-making pursuant to the timeline.
I'm also pleased that you can apply either by clicking and typing on the website, or by sending an email, or by paper, or any of the methods that will be advertised. Board Member Smith.
Can I ask that maybe we clarify where on the website the Google form will be located, whether it's going to be on the homepage, the governance or governing board page? A little bit more specific on the form, I think would be helpful.
Good, if it's mentioned on the homepage somewhere. Any other questions on the process? Yes, Board Member. Hunter.
So the person who's interested would fill out the questions, and those would be handed to us at the meeting. And-
It'll be attached to the agenda a
Before
week
the
and ahead
meeting.
of time.
And then during the meeting, you said they would have 3 minutes to do what?
The process would be that at that special meeting, each of the candidates would have 3 minutes to give a statement as to why they want to be a board member.
Which is one of the questions.
Right, they could elaborate on that.
Okay.
And then, if there are any other additional questions that the board may want to ask those people, we just have to make sure that those questions are the same for each candidate. And so, more than likely, that would be done during agenda review between Craig and Helen. So if the board members have some additional questions that are burning that they would like to ask, please give those to Craig and Helen for consideration.
And we'll arrange for a set of follow-up oral questions during the
Special board meeting.
during
Okay.
each
Okay,
candidate's presentation.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, we have chosen our method. We've reviewed the procedures. We're ready for adjournment. The meeting is now adjourned.
15 minutes, new record. Good job.